Hey everyone, Social Solipsist here with another episode of 52 and 52. And this week, I take a look at Gone Home, which I played at the behest of my friend Spencer. And if you watched my video from about 2-ish weeks ago about walking simulators and things like that, that's sort of what prompted me to do this was um, Spencer gave it a good rating, said it was a worthwhile play, and for 2 hours of gameplay, he said it was worth doing. So I believed him, and I went ahead and played it, and I had a pretty all right time at the end of the day. I'm not going to go too much into the plot or the story or whatever, because honestly, there's not a lot there. That's not to disparage the game. There's just the right amount. To get right into it, I guess the thing that the game does pretty darn well is it handles its pacing and the delivery of its story fairly well. At no point did I think that I was, totally lost or, not finding the right item or the right piece of exposition or dialogue or what have you to get where I needed to go. Nor was I, nor was it being dumped on my head really excessively. Um, the art that's in the game is pretty all right. It's not like really extraordinary or anything like that, but it does the gameplay the service that it's due. There are some issues. There are quite a number of issues with the game. First and foremost was I was really struggling with a lot of the gameplay aspects, like the actual mechanical aspects of the game, because they had done some weird things with field of view, having a really hard fisheye that was messing with my eyes, and normally that kind of stuff doesn't affect me in most games. But this was really excessive. On top of that, there was really high mouse sensitivity and like a whole bunch of mouse acceleration and mouse smoothing and stuff like that, and stuff that PC gamers, people who play games with mouse and keyboard frequently tend not to ever want to see. Admittedly, having them as an option is not bad, but having them all on by default is it was a little rough at first. Um, Once I got all that settled, I got into the world, and it is fairly immersive. Granted, the I do have some gripes about the setting. The whole, the premise is you're coming home from Europe to see your family, and you get home and no one's there. And it's this big old mansion on a hill that is implied to have some, dark story or background or whatever behind it, enough so that it's known by the public. And there's this constant sense of foreboding. At least that's what I got as I was going through. Is it's very much the same the same sense you get in the early stages of a game like Amnesia or something like that, where you know that there's something sinister there, but you don't know what it is or why it's there. Um, and it turns out that that's really out of place. And admittedly, it could be a unique experience on my part feeling that way about the setting, but I don't think that that's the case. I think the world is misrepresentative of the stories that they're trying to tell, the stories that they're trying to articulate. Um, and again, I'm not going to speak too much to the actual story itself because I am going to put up the full playthrough on my channel. It's only a few episodes. It was only, it took me I think about an hour and a half, hour and 45 to get all the way through the game. So I highly recommend you take a look if you're not already familiar with the game. Um, but yeah, the world does a disservice to the story. and is tonally incompatible, in my opinion, with the story that's being articulated. Even moment to moment. The the huge mansion on the dark and stormy night is not the right setting for this, which is a bit of a shame. And admittedly, it does add character, but it's the wrong character. It doesn't serve to help the story. As far as the actual delivery of the story pieces themselves, some of them are done quite well and some of them are not. Like I said, the pacing is handled pretty well as far as how they dole out pieces of story and things like that. The game doesn't overstay its welcome at all. An hour and 45 is pretty good for the story they wanted to tell. They got out at the right time. They didn't overstay their welcome, which is, in my opinion, sort of sin number one, that walking sims or other non-combat first-person exploration games want to do. And so in that, it does a good job, but where it doesn't do a good job is how it delivers a lot of its exposition. It sort of fails in some of the idea of show and don't tell, where there's a decent, it's kind of 50-50 split between things that they, you pick up an item and you learn a little bit about what was going on in the house, and then there's another 50% that's like, hey, read this 3-page letter that may or may not be particularly pertinent. And the sheer amount of reading that they want you to do probably not doubles the game time, but adds an extra 50% onto it. It'd probably be 30 minutes shorter. And admittedly, by about a third of the way through the game, I was just skimming every single thing, not only because it was going to be boring to watch me read every goddamn thing, but just because they weren't compelling enough. Some of them were, and some of them I read, but you very quickly get a sense of, there's so many letters lying around this house. It's kind of baffling how much mail these people got. And admittedly, it's set in 1995, so still early days of the internet, but even so, there's too many, plot exposition letters lying around for me to really think that they were delivering it in a good way. The story itself, like I said, I won't get into, but it's pretty all right. It's voiced and characterized pretty well, and I had a pretty all right time. The hour and 45 minutes I spent on the story was not a bad waste of it wasn't a waste of my time. I definitely had some problems with the game, as you can tell, but yeah, it wasn't a waste of my time. I had a pretty all right time. It was it added to my gaming history, my gaming experience. So for that, I suppose it was worthwhile. So thank you again to my friend Spencer for suggesting this, and you can watch the playthrough go up on the channel. This coming Tuesday will be the first episode, I believe. And I will see you guys next time.